The Explainer, where we break down the big ideas. Today, we're diving into something huge, a fundamental challenge for one of the world's most dynamic economies, building what's called state capacity. So we're jumping right into India's latest economic survey to tackle a really big question. I mean, the country's growth is just off the charts, right? But the world, well, the world is getting a lot messier, a lot more unpredictable. So can India's government actually keep pace? Look, the world has completely changed. That old era of easy, predictable globalization, it's gone. We are now in a world where everything is strategic. Capital flows, who gets access to what technology, it's all part of the competition. And in this tougher new world, the old ways of governing just aren't going to cut it anymore. And that brings us right to the heart of what we're talking about today, a concept called state capacity. Now, it might sound a bit academic, but trust me, it's an incredibly powerful and important idea. You know, I love the definition the source gives us here because it's so simple and direct. State capacity isn't about how big your government is or how much money it has in the bank. Nope, it's simply about its ability to get the right things done. Okay, so let's unpack that a little. This is the key point, right? You can have the most brilliant policy ideas. You can have all the official authority in the world. But if you don't have that deep institutional ability to actually execute on those ideas, to turn them into reality, then you've got weak state capacity. It's all about judgment, technical skill, and, this is super important, the ability to learn and change course. So to deal with all this uncertainty, the argument is that India needs to build what's called an entrepreneurial state. And let's be clear, this doesn't mean the government replaces the market, not at all. It means creating a government that can think and act more like a startup, one that can handle risk, learn from its mistakes, and adapt on the fly. Okay, so if this entrepreneurial state is what's needed, why is it so ridiculously hard to pull off? It sounds amazing in a textbook, but getting a massive government to innovate, that's a whole different ballgame. Let's dig into why. Well, a big part of the problem is a culture of fear that's baked into the system. Imagine being an official. You're worried that any new idea, any experiment you try, could be torn apart by auditors years from now who have the perfect vision of hindsight. Honest mistakes can get treated as if they're corruption. It actually becomes safer to just follow procedure and do nothing new. The source has this great phrase for it: learning without forgiveness. So what's the fix? Well, you're not going to turn the whole government into a giant startup overnight. That's not the point. The idea is to create these protected, safe spaces for innovation. Think of them like special mission-focused teams or regulatory sandboxes. Inside these spaces, the rules are different. The main goal is just to learn. You protect people from making good faith errors, and you reward them for actually solving problems, not just for ticking boxes on a form. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? A state that cannot reverse cannot learn. A state that cannot learn cannot adapt. For an entrepreneurial state, changing your mind when you get new data isn't a weakness. It's a strength. It's the whole point. Being able to adapt is the ultimate sign that you're competent. Okay, but here's where the idea gets really interesting. The source argues that building this kind of state capacity, well, it's not just a job for the government. It's actually on all of us. Think about this for a second. When businesses are always asking for special favors or loopholes, what are they really asking for? A government that can be easily manipulated. But when they have to compete fair and square based on how good their products are, they start demanding something totally different. They demand a government that's competent, fair, and predictable for everybody. Suddenly, they become a force for building a stronger state, not undermining it. And this next part is, I think, a really profound point. Citizen behavior isn't just about being a good person. It's a critical part of building a capable country. Development isn't some abstract thing that happens in government buildings. It happens in the small, quiet habits of our daily lives. So when we as citizens start to internalize these things, taking responsibility for public spaces, committing to learning new skills throughout our lives, valuing quality and discipline at work, something amazing happens. The government doesn't have to waste its energy policing the small stuff. It can focus its resources on solving the really big, complex challenges. We literally help build a more capable state from the bottom up. All right, so this all sounds great in theory, but what does it look like in practice? Let's look at a real-world example of state capacity in action, this massive push for deregulation. So to tackle all the procedural friction that just grinds business to a halt, a special task force was set up. Its mission? to go through the rulebook for the entire country and streamline things. And look at that number. They targeted over 800 specific reforms. That is a massive undertaking. And they're actually getting it done. The progress has been pretty incredible. As you can see here, 76% of those reforms are already implemented. So this isn't just some report sitting on a shelf. This is real, tangible action. And you can see they were really strategic about it. They didn't just slash roles randomly. They focused on the key sectors that cause the biggest headaches for businesses, things like land, construction, and complicated labor laws. The whole point was to get the economic engine running a lot more smoothly. And this brings us to the most important takeaway from this example. This kind of deregulation isn't about making the state weaker. It's the exact opposite. It's about making it smarter. By getting rid of all the pointless, low-value paperwork, you free up the government's time and energy to focus on what really matters, solving big, high-value problems. You're not shrinking the state, you're strengthening it by making it more effective. So this all leaves us with a really powerful final thought, captured perfectly in this quote. If India is truly going to reach its potential, it has to shift from a ruler's Raj, a top-down command and control system, to a citizen's Raj, a system where a capable government and responsible citizens are partners in building the future. It really drives home that this isn't a project for just a few people at the top. It's a challenge and a responsibility for everyone.